Alrighty, on with the second game in the Call of Duty franchise and the first on consoles. I definitely remember playing this game as a kid, well, probably more like teenager. And I want to start off with, this sucked, and I don't necessarily mean the game itself, though there are some aspects that I found massively annoying, and others that were either the PS2, the disc, or maybe it's just how the game was on the PS2 even back then. Not entirely sure because I originally owned and played Valhallas on a GameCube. The point being that the game was legitimately broken at points, and I don't remember that being an issue when I played it back in the day. Maybe it has something to do with the multiplayer component? Maybe the game was supposed to have updates on the PS2 or something? I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments if this game or others ever got updates on the PS2. Anyway, the game looks awful on a 1080p screen, and something about the PS2 to HDMI adapter I got makes the image incredibly dark. So dark, in fact, that I had to create a new picture mode preset on my TV to even be able to see anything at all, and have adjusted the contrast and shadows of every bit of footage I've recorded during the playthrough and up to this point in the review. Here's an example of the footage without editing the contrast and shadows. Pretty terrible, isn't it? Footage otherwise, however, is about as raw as it can be during my playthrough, simply for the sake of being honest. Visually, it's not good on a modern TV, though I should probably get a CRT if I really want a half-decent experience, or maybe look into upgrading the HDMI box thing. The game otherwise looks fine, some pretty rough anti-aliasing, which from what I know is just how the PS2 is compared to the other consoles of the time, especially on multi-platform games. However, it ran pretty smooth, and I mean, yeah, looks fine graphically, not hard to tell what anything is supposed to be, again, not counting how dark the image is without the editing or adjusting the picture mode. Beyond that, I mean, really, what can you ask of a PlayStation 2 game? There were parts of the game, especially towards the end of it though, that were just broken, and it took me quite a few tries to get the game to finally decide to let me progress, as you can see an example of in the footage that is playing here. I won't say much about the story though, because I would never want to spoil any game for anyone, even a game such as Finest Hour that I didn't thoroughly enjoy this time around. Gameplay wise, I can get into a few details though. It's good and exciting at points. The thing that makes it stand out from modern Call of Duties or more arcade-style run-and-gun shooters is the lack of sprinting and the ability to lean around corners, which gets cut out with the release of Call of Duty 2, but that's a story for another time. So in essence, Finest Hour, like the first on PC, has an almost tactical element to it, even including the ability to deploy the bipod on certain weapons, and in line with that feeling of the game being tactical, if you're not incredibly familiar with it anyway, it has an air of excitement in not knowing what's going to be around the next corner, except maybe expect an MG42. Much like the first one, it can be a bit frustrating at times, and that's certainly something I do remember from playing it back on the GameCube. Myriad deaths in trying to learn levels, enemy placements and such. And that's really what it boils down to. Progress a bit, die, learn what happened, rinse and repeat. A particular grievance that I have with it is that in Finest Hour, the MG42s will stop you from being able to move if you get in front of them. And considering there are moments in the game where you will be sure that you cleared the nest, and then all of a sudden another wave of enemies spawn, and you can't do much to get away from the new gunner that runs to the nest. Or they spawn just far enough away at certain points on an MG42 that you can't see them because of render distance, and once they light you up, you're pretty well screwed. Which, sort of like I said in my review of the first Call of Duty, is a realistic sort of element, but means that you can't take evasive maneuvers to get out of the way of gunfire, meaning that you'll die and then learn from your mistakes, rinse and repeat. On with some other points. The game takes you to some interesting locales, has some interesting Easter eggs that I did remember from back in the day. I'll have 2 videos showcasing the ones I remember. And with the bonus videos and interviews with veterans and all the consultants you can see in the credits, I truly believe that at this time, the developers at Activision actually cared about making a good game. Just a shame that for whatever reason it was such a broken experience for me on the PS2. And with all that, I mean, there's not much else to say. I never got to experience the multiplayer for this game, and surely never will. I highly doubt it's still going now, though I didn't try and don't really care to. I came back to this game for nostalgia's sake and was honestly highly disappointed. A nostalgia eroded by cheap feeling deaths, and in the case of the PS2 copy, straight up broken gameplay. And that pretty well sums it up. Maybe I should look into getting an original Xbox for these old games. From what I know, it usually had the best to offer in most cases. And that's about it. In 2022, I don't think I can recommend Call of Duty Finest Hour on the PS2. Brutal, but honest. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my patron, Swift Logic. Remember to be safe and to be good. And I hope to catch you in the next one.